Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Welcome to Ask Rob and Rob, the time of the week we get to send your property questions our way, and indeed to send follow-up questions for episodes we've recorded in the past, which is what our first caller has done today. So we'll listen to that in just a sec, but first a quick reminder of how you can send your own question in.
Yeah, you can call in and leave us a voicemail, or you can leave us a voicemail via our link. The link is propertyhub.net/ask. You can also find the number there, but if you want to jot it down now, if you haven't already, it's 013 808 00035. Super simple. But if that was a bit fast, don't worry. It's on that link, which is propertyhub.net/ask. So that is how you get onto the show. You also get onto the show if you're very kind about the things we do and the magazine we put out. And Alex is very smart and done just that.
Hey, Rob and Rob. I hope it goes well. Alex from Essex here. First off, love the podcast and Property Pulse email. You guys are my first port of call when it comes to everything in property. Love the magazine too. Full of great stuff each month and great value for money. So thanks very much. I have a question off the back of the monopoly conversation you guys had. Rob mentioned that one of the big problems he has was not buying more premium properties sooner. So with that, my question is, at what point should you look to start buying better properties? Is it simply a case of if you can afford it, do so? Or is there a more strategic way of identifying when it's time? Or is it wise to possibly start out by buying premium properties if doable? Or is it better to build a foundation of more affordable properties from which to push on with from there, so to speak? I'm in a fortunate position where I have some savings that I want to put into property. So, in instance, would it be better to buy two places in, say, Newcastle, which I could refurb and refinance so I can move on to the next acquisition faster? Or am I better off going all in on buying one better property that's much newer in, say, a Leeds or a Manchester? I imagine they would most likely not need a refurb, so there wouldn't be any refinancing money to sort of take out and use to expand quickly. But maybe, like you guys also mentioned, perhaps I'm already sort of chasing numbers of properties rather than their overall value. Personally, I'm after houses rather than apartments at the minute, which I imagine will also determine what I do. But any advice would be hugely appreciated. Keep up all the good work, guys, and all the best. Cheers.
Thank you, Alex. Now, if you are the type of person who listens to Ask Rob and Rob, you are on that another level of property geekiness, and we love you for it. So you should be subscribing to the magazine for that very reason. So go to propertyhub.net/magazine. It's £5 delivered every other month. It's an absolute bargain. So go and check it out. I highly, highly recommend that you subscribe if you listen to the Ask Rob and Robs, because you are clearly hardcore. Right. As Alex is referring to my monopoly strategy, which we talked about earlier this year on the podcast. You can go back and listen to that if you haven't already. I think I better answer this one. And it's difficult to say, Alex, and I know we say this a lot on Ask Rob and Rob, where we go, well, we don't know your exact circumstances, blah-de-blah-de-blah. But even after saying that, we always try our best to give you an answer. I think it will come down to how quickly you can move on from those first two properties. Because if you're in the position where you're lucky enough to be able to save up for a deposit every few years and continue to build your portfolio, then yes, you may want to consider the monopoly strategy because your portfolio is going to build out quite quickly. Or if you're in the position that you have your pot, you may be able to add to it a little bit, but not enough and not quickly enough to continue to add to your portfolio, then maybe the refurb option is for you. Now, I wouldn't go into refurbs lightly. It's not to put you off, but I would expect you to have some experience, some hands-on ability to be able to refurb a project, because it's easy to overspend, it's easy to get it wrong, and actually you'd be better off just buying a property that was in great condition from day one. So a bit of a side note there. But if I assume you do have some skills or some knowledge of being able to deliver a refurb project, and you don't have future deposits coming to you every few years, then maybe that is the way forward. But as I've said, if you do find yourself in a privileged position where you can add to your portfolio every year or every couple of years by the money that you're able to save up, then maybe the monopoly strategy is better. So I absolutely, in the beginning, did not start with a monopoly strategy. I wasn't in the position when I started my portfolio that I could just buy premium properties every few years. I bought my first buy-to-let, and then it took me a number of years to get to my second buy-to-let. And I've talked about this snowball effect before, where suddenly the third one comes along a bit faster because you've got two rental rolls helping you add to your savings. Then you get the third one, then you got more rental income coming in, which allows you to increase your savings. You may then also get further on in your career or your business, depending on what you do, so you can add to it that way. And that's exactly my journey. So I wasn't in the position that I could go straight to monopoly strategy. So I had to do it that way. I also didn't have any refurb skills. I mean, I'm absolutely useless at that type of thing. So I didn't do that strategy. So for me, it was cheaper properties until I got to a position where I could switch strategy and go for the more premium type properties, which is what I do now.
Okay, our second question comes from Stacey.
Hi, Rob and Rob. Firstly, thanks for the podcast and your commitment to doing them each and every week. They're slowly pushing me forward to commit to buying another buy-to-let. I already have one, which was my own property originally, so that's felt easier than choosing another one. I've been looking at a property, a flat, which has previously sold, but the sellers pulled out because they found out that it was built in a non-standard construction and the roof is made from steel. So I just wanted to get your advice on anything that I should be aware of and questions to ask. I'm viewing it towards the end of this week. I mean, I know it might be more difficult to get a mortgage and insurance might be higher on the property, but I just wanted to hear what your thoughts are on proceeding with property built from non-standard construction. Many thanks, and I look forward to your reply.
Stacey, thank you for the question. You've correctly identified the potential challenges with properties that don't have standard construction. It's mortgages and it's insurance. And the way I think about this is that they are challenges that you might be willing and able to work through and find a lender and be in a position to proceed. The issue, though, is when you come to sell the property, not everybody is going to feel the same way. And indeed, you've already seen this play out. The previous buyers of this property pulled out when they found out about the construction. And what that means is it's potentially going to hold back your capital growth, because essentially this property only appeals to a subset of all possible buyers. And therefore, at whatever point you sell, it's never going to perform as well as a property that applies to the whole of the market. So in a really slow market like we have right now, you might struggle to sell it at all. In a really hot market, you probably will be able to get a sale, but not at the same price at a similar property that doesn't have that challenge. And that's why for me, personally, I would stay away, because I think, well, there's a lot of properties that I could buy. Why would I want to go through extra work and then even after that work, have a property that's probably not going to perform as well as something else? But that is just me. You might feel differently, or you might be able to negotiate such an incredible bargain that it makes the whole thing worthwhile. And if you are still interested, then the first thing to do in terms of a practical tip is to find out as much about the construction as you can, because non-standard is not a blanket thing. Different lenders have different policies depending on what the construction method is and what the materials are. Many lenders will also want to see a structural engineer's report to understand it as well as they possibly can. Now, it sounds like the estate agent for this one is not particularly good, because they clearly didn't tell the previous buyer that it was non-standard at all. So they probably won't be much use. What you could do is see if the vendor would be willing to produce a structural engineer's report, if they don't already have one, at their cost, and then you could take it to lenders and see what your options are before making a firm commitment. And then, armed with as much information as you possibly can get, do then work with a specialist mortgage broker and probably a specialist insurance broker as well, who mortgage brokers can often refer you to if you don't have one already. Because this is a real case-by-case kind of thing. It's going to involve having conversations with lenders about the specifics of the case and their particular appetite, and that is something that they are best placed to do. So, Stacey, hope that helps, and good luck with whatever you decide to do.
Well, that's us done for another week. Thank you for listening. Of course, we'll be back on Thursday with the main event, the Property Podcast. So until then, take care, have fun. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.